Thumbnail. I don't know why that's our go-to thumbnail. What's going on, Patreon ejects, and the beginning part of this video, YouTube? How y'all doing?
How you guys?
Greg Alba here.
John here.
So today we're gonna cover the top movie news of the week.
Oh man.
Not a whole lot of things that we, it's just like a lot of them are like updates when we're looking at the articles or updates throughout the week of what's been going on a lot of things that we've already covered. So it's not many new things to talk about.
It's America's birthday next week. That's what everybody's mostly focused on.
That's all people really give two craps about. But we wanted to talk about one very specific thing. Before we go into that, by the time this video is up, we will probably be watching Baby Driver in the theaters. We'd like to keep our movie reviews for Sundays, like throughout the week. It's reactions and occasionally another discussion video, but let's keep our reviews for movie news for Sunday release. So we'll be having a Baby Driver review coming up. Keep a lookout for that. Shooting it right after. Anyway,
ASAP.
Top story, the one main story this week. Here it is. Matt Reeves, director of the War for the Planet of the Apes, is saying that the next Batman movie will be a noir-driven detective film.
Oh, hell yeah.
Something that I think a lot of fans have been wanting to hear for a long time. I personally have stated for quite a while now that one element I've been wanting from a Batman film is not only the heavy martial arts aspect, which is what we got with Batman v Superman, the one of the few things the movie got right was a heavy martial arts Batman, but also really getting a detective, and he's called the Dark Detective for a reason. We need the detective side in there, and now we're finally getting it. John, start the quote that he said.
One of the reasons I was drawn to The Batman is that I had a similar obsession in Batman when I was younger that I had with Planet of the Apes, which I was also obsessed with. I see a parallel emotionally between Caesar and Batman.
Makes sense why he's doing it, yeah.
In that they're both tortured and trying to sort of grapple within themselves to try and do the right thing in a very imperfect and to some degree corrupt world.
I didn't really think of that.
It's really that emotionally that I'm interested in.
Okay, and here's the part that everyone's been flipping balls about. In all of my films, what I try to do, in an almost Hitchcockian sense, so you guys know Alfred Hitchcock was a very famous director.
Yeah.
Is use the camera and use the storytelling so that you become the character, then you emphasize with that point of view. There's a chance to do an almost noir-driven detective version of Batman that's a point-of-view driven and yeah, I got it right, in a very, very powerful way. And hopefully it's going to connect with you to what's going on inside of his head and inside of his heart. That sounds interesting.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I really feel that, okay, we don't need to bag on BVS to talk about its problems. I really
We've not done that enough. Yeah. We need to keep reminding everybody
that we didn't like Batman v Superman.
We didn't like this movie. All right.
But whenever people ask me what my favorite Batman movie is, my answer tends to be I think the best Batman film is The Dark Knight, but I think the best Batman story is Batman Begins, because that's the one where you really get to know Bruce Wayne, who Batman is, and his point of view towards life, and it's really just all about Bruce in that movie. They could have called that movie All About Bruce. Well,
and The Dark Knight makes the story something bigger and more scopic, whereas Batman Begins still also has all that stuff in the Narrows and all that stuff with the fear talks, and it feels a bit more comic book Gotham, you know?
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing Matt Reeves say here is perfect, because it wasn't until I saw War for the Planet of the Apes that I thought this guy can definitely do the Batman, because I always thought Matt Reeves is a fine choice. But it was when I saw War when I was like, yeah, this guy is going to deliver. He's absolutely right about what he's talking about with the parallels between Caesar and Batman, these both tortured souls who are constantly trying to do the right thing. And, of course, having the noir sense. That means Batman's going to talk like this the whole time.
Yeah, see? Your jig is up.
The jig is up, Joker. Two-Face. He's got half a face and half a man. Or whatever the hell a noir person would say.
Not really good at the split down the middle.
Not really good at the improv here.
It's all right. Leave the 30s improv to me, bucko.
Yeah, well, hearing what he's saying here about capturing it from the perspective of Batman, I mean, that's obviously the most logical thing you could do when you're calling a film the Batman.
Totes.
But one thing Batman Begins was it was really about Bruce Wayne, and not really about, it's about him becoming Batman. In this film, he will be an established Batman already. It's not going to be an origin tale. Okay. So I think it would be very interesting to see that side of him, where I feel like we'll probably get a lot more of Batman being Batman and being Detective Batman, whereas Batman Begins and even The Dark Knight Rises was heavy, much heavier on Bruce Wayne arena more than Batman arena. And so I think that's what I believe he's implying, that he will be focusing a lot more on when he's on the streets, taking down criminals, having to do having to do like the nasty vigilante work. I think Matt Reeves will be able to capture that perfectly in a very haunting way. Because I think that's one thing I took away from War for the Planet of the Apes, was I was surprised by how haunting that film felt.
Yeah.
And especially for a Caesar story, too. I felt very, like, this guy felt really terrible for him. And I'm kind of hoping we get a similar sense, too, for Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I haven't seen every Matt Reeves joint out there, but, you know, the things I have seen, I've at least enjoyed. I've thought he's pretty good. And War for the Planet of the Apes is the first time where I really started to, not that I didn't respect him before, but that movie was pretty big in my eyes. Like, wow, okay, respect. And the things he's talking about here about, you know, getting to know what's going on inside Bruce Wayne's head and heart, I think that movie does perfectly for Caesar, and locking you into his perspective and all that. Like, the game he's talking here, I just saw him prove that he can do it.
Yeah.
Both visually, because of that scene, you know, in the cave and everything, but also thematically. So, with any of the DCEU movies, at least right now still, I'm always, you know, a little cautious in terms of, like, I've liked a lot of things people have said before these movies come out, and I know that their vibe is filmmaker driven, but just reading these quotes, I'm thrilled to hear this. You know, I feel like this has the makes of a really cool Batman movie, and like you said, you know, the more on the street stuff, you know, taking down crime, I personally would like to see a little bit more of a grounded, more suspenseful Batman story that isn't so much about, there's a big sky portal and the entire world is at stake. Like, you know, I would like to see something that's a bit more, you know, personal like that.
And some of my favorite comics that I've read of Batman are when he has an internal monologue going on.
Yeah.
I mean, people really reference, a lot of people hail The Dark Knight Returns as possibly the best Batman comic. And even though there's an animated movie, they canned all the internal monologue stuff. And I think this film, I don't think it needs an internal monologue of Batman, but it would be fascinating to feel an internal monologue happening, which goes back to the whole noir sense of what he's talking about.
If you really make this a visual story with some room and some shadows in it, like, I think that would be perfect.
I feel like my last point was the best point that I've made in all this time I've talked about this article.
You know, you want to end on a high note?
Yeah. Internal monologue, but not have to hear it, but can feel that he's doing it.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what Caesar's like when you're watching it.
I would love
That's the fascinating, because the fascinating part about Caesar was he was a mocap ape, and you could feel what he's thinking throughout. And if they're capturing Batman with a mask on the whole time, a lot of it's going to have to come through the eyes.
And body language.
And body language, and I'm hoping that Matt Reeves will know how to capture that as well.
Totally.
With Ben Affleck not having to do any acting.
Yeah. Not even his face always obscured by shadows.
All on the camera. Guys, Wonder Woman has topped the DCEU's films in terms of domestic box office. It has beat out Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, the movie where they brought Batman and Superman finally together.
Finally giving
and
us
even
all
had
we wanted.
Wonder Woman in it. And it topped that one too.
Wow.
What do you know? Hey, it's more than just marketing. If you make a good movie, it can also make more money.
It has staying power. It
has
power.
Repeat value.
Word of mouth.
People will tune into the movie even if they didn't really care before, because my mom didn't go watch a single DC film in the theater. But she heard all these people talking about Wonder Woman. She was like, all right, I'll go. So my mom and sister went to go watch it last week for her birthday. This is what I mean, man. Wonder Woman is a great example for everything right now. All of Hollywood. Not just the DCEU, but all of Hollywood. Because Wonder Woman was like, I don't want to use the word underdog, but it wasn't the one that DC or Warner Brothers was expecting to be their mega hit.
Yeah, it was a little bit of like, oh.
They were like, $50 million opening.
You know? It's a risk. Women? What are those?
Yeah.
Do they like movies like we like movies?
Wonder Woman's not as popular as Batman or Superman or even the Joker.
I don't know. She doesn't punch as many people in the face in this one.
Yeah, but because it's a great film, look how much money it's making. This just shows that it's not all about making stuff for marketing purposes.
Yeah, it's not about math. It's about spirit too. You know.
Yeah.
And if you look at the box office, you know, not every good movie hangs around this huge for weeks on end. But if you pay attention, usually the stuff that's good has some staying power.
Well, I think stuff like Rotten Tomatoes and audience scores that you could read online have a lot to do with people going to a movie now.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, I don't care if you agree or disagree with Rotten Tomatoes. I'm talking about the general consensus.
It's got an impact.
Yeah, it does.
You know.
When you go and see, oh, The Mummy has like a negative 20%, you probably don't want to watch this movie.
You might slow down. And I mean, like, that's always happened, but now you can just see so much more feedback than before.
Because if a trailer does not look that good to begin with, for example, The Mummy just didn't look that good, didn't look like a great film to begin with, and then even for me, even though I saw Mummy opening night, we saw Mummy opening night, when you see Rotten Tomatoes gives it such a low score, it's like, well, shit, the trailer didn't even look good. But then, you once in a while you get like movies with built-in audiences like BVS or Suicide Squad that also deliver some pretty damn good trailers. It doesn't matter what the Rotten Tomatoes score will say. Sometimes it'll still make good money. But if it's a great marketing and the movie happens to be really good and that's their primary focus is making a great movie, because Wonder Woman is better than the trailers. Yeah. Sometimes you see movies where the trailers are better than the film, you know?
That happens, I feel like, more now than ever, you know, because people are really smart about marketing.
And Wonder Woman had great trailers, but the movie was even better, and that's the primary thing. So I'm hoping from here on out that they stop worrying about franchise building, they stop worrying about their marketing ploys, because what really has made this movie such a massive global hit, except for China, surprisingly...
Oh, well, you know.
Well, it's not surprising. It makes logical sense why it's not doing so well in some other countries. But in terms of American box office domestically, it surpassed the other ones for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. I mean, when it comes to a film like this, it just makes me really happy. I'm really happy for DC on this one. Yeah. To be honest, like for all the ones for them to nail, you know, I think this is nice, and it goes to prove that people don't care as much about, oh, what does this movie have to do with 10 other movies and your universe building and stuff? You know, it's one good movie is always what it's about. Yeah. Even if it's a part of a bigger machine, one good movie is your stepping stone into time. And this one seems like they finally focused up and nailed it right. So I'm totally thrilled to hear this news.
I'm so happy Gal Gadot only got paid $300,000 to do this movie.
Did she really?
She only got paid $300,000. Can you believe that?
The next one, she'll be...
The next one's Justice League, and she already shot that, so she could have negotiated.
Next Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's probably even lower for Justice League, probably.
Because she's not a main character. Yeah.
Well, Wonder Woman 2, that price tag is going to go up.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, Iron Man, Downey Jr. only got paid $500K, but then Iron Man 2, he got paid $10 million. And now he's like the highest paid Marvel actor right now. So, yeah, let's hope Gal Gadot can start increasing that paycheck.
Yeah, man.
Because it's all about money. That's what keeps the actors coming back.
Hey, and Wonder Woman is a significant character, too, so...
Well, they all have similar stories, you know. They get sick of doing these big-budget movies. They get tired eventually. Sometimes the actors get tired of working out all the time, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she's ex-military, right? I don't know if she would ever get tired of it.
She had to still get, like, a much more in shape in martial arts practice for us. Anyway. Alright, guys. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, we got a full exclusive Patreon movie news segment where we cover a few more stories over there, so go check it out. And if you want to. In the meantime, subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. John Humphrey on Twitter and Instagram. Social media manager at Blumhouse. And like we said, go check out our Patreon for exclusive perks and rewards. Much love, Reject Nation. Hashtag Reject Nation. Ooh.